Hare Krishna, Namaste, Chapter 11, entitled as Vishwarupa Dharshana Yoga, Sloka 14. Tathā vismayāviṣṭo hṛṣṭa-romā dhanañ-jayaḥ praṇamya śirasā devaṁ kṛtāñjalir abhāṣata. A quick recap of where we are right now in chapter 11. In the first 5 slokas, 1 through 5, Arjuna expressed his desire to see the Lord's cosmic form. Then in 6 through 8, Krishna prepared Arjuna by giving him the divine eyes. 9 through 14 are the slokas that spoken by Sanjaya, explaining what Arjuna saw. And 15th sloka onwards, it's pretty much Arjuna who spoke. This sloka, the 14th sloka, is also by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra, mentioning that what did Arjuna do seeing the universal form. Let's see the word by word and the meaning. Saha, that. Dhanañ-jayaḥ, Arjuna, tathā, thereafter. Vismayāviṣṭo, being overwhelmed with wonder. hṛṣṭa-romā, with his bodily hairs standing on end due to great ecstasy. Devaṁ, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. śirasā, with the head. praṇamya, offering obeisances. kṛtāñjalir, with folded hands. abhāṣata, began to speak. Translation. Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisances and with folded hands began to pray to the Supreme Lord. Arjuna saw that the Lord supports the entire universe of moving and non-moving entities. Arjuna saw that the Lord as a controller of the entire universe that consists of Chit and Achit, matter and spirit. Arjuna saw in the universal form the wonderful activities of the Lord. In the form, he also saw a lot of auspicious qualities of the Lord. Situated on his chariot, Arjuna could see all these different things. It was really hard to understand what was going on between Arjuna and Krishna. Until before the universal form was revealed to Arjuna, their relationship was different. It was based on their friendship. But here, after the revealing of the universal form, that relationship now has changed to something else. Seeing all these wonderful things, struck with wonder, Arjuna folded his hands out of amazement and started his prayers. And those are the prayers which will follow from the 15th sloka onwards. Here, Sanjaya calls Arjuna with another name, dhanañ-jayaḥ, meaning conqueror of wealth, tataḥ, dhanañ-jayaḥ. In Tatparya Chandrika, the Gita commentary by Swami Desikan, he mentions there, tataḥ dhanañ-jayaḥ, as he became dhanañ-jayaḥ only after seeing the Lord in the universal form. Before that, he was dhanañ-jayaḥ, just by name. He might have had some material wealth which are perishable, but he did not have the imperishable wealth that is the Supreme Lord. He might have had prakrita dhanam, the wealth and riches of this world, but he did not have aprakrita dhanam, the wealth of the spiritual world. His name as dhanañ-jayaḥ is meaningful only now after he saw this universal form. Arjuna, by nature, he was a special person. Therefore, when he saw this universal form, he was struck with wonder. He immediately folded his hand and bowed down to the Supreme Lord, submitting himself. His submission, his prayers are all simply wonderful, that we will enjoy starting from the next sloka. Tataḥ vismayāviṣṭo hṛṣṭa-romā dhanañ-jayaḥ praṇamya śirasā devaṁ kṛtāñjalir abhāṣata. Sloka 15. Arjuna uvāca paśyāmi devāṁs tava deva dehe sarvāṁs tathā bhūta-viśeṣa-saṅghān brahmāṇam īśaṁ kamalāsana-stham ṛṣīṁś sarvān uragāṁś divyān. Starting from this sloka onwards, it is Arjuna who speaks directly, expressing what he saw, expressing what he is going through, and offering his prayers and so forth. Let's see the word by word and the translation. Arjuna uvāca, Arjuna said, Deva, O Lord, O self-effulgent personality, tava dehe, in your body, sarvān devān, all the demigods, tathā, also bhūta-viśeṣa-saṅghān, hosts of living beings of different classification, they are all grouped. brahmāṇam, Lord Brahma, kamalāsana-stham, sitting on the lotus flower, īśaṁ, Lord Śiva, who is subordinate to Brahma, seated on that lotus flower, sarvān, rishin, all the sages, divyān, divine, uragāṁś, sarvāns also, paśyāmi, I see. Translation. Arjuna said, My dear Lord, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Śiva and all the sages and divine sarvāns. Sometimes we may come across some people who are really very nice by their nature, by their talk, by their actions, with good qualities. They are very kind, helping, less they think about themselves, more for others. When we see such people, we tend to question ourselves, does such people still exist in the world? It is out of astonishment, considering the current world situation, to find some people like that is a rare thing. It brings an amusement in us. Likewise, when Arjuna saw Krishna in this universal form, he was totally amazed, astonished, in fact overwhelmed, not knowing how to react, what to say. In fact, unable to say anything. He was not sure what to do, but somehow or the other he gathered some strength, some control of his emotions to some extent, and started speaking few words. And that's what we are going to see from this 15th sloka onwards. It is like in Valmiki Ramayana, we see where when Valmiki Muni asked Narada, Konasmin Sampradhan Loke Gunavan Kascha Viryavan Dharmajñascha Kṛtāñjaļa Satyavākya Dೃಢvrataha Charitrena cha ko yuktaha Sarvabhūteshu ko hitaha Vidvān kaha Kas samartascha Kaschaika priyadarshanaha Atmavan ko jitaha Dyutiman ko anusuyakaha Kasya bibyate devascha jato rosyasya samyuge. When Valmiki Muni asked to Narada, who is that one person who has all the 16 qualities, the virtue, one is valorous, one is blameless, a person who is grateful, truthful, determined in his deed, free of any faults in his behavior and character, well-wisher of all living entities, all-knowing, all-capable, pleasant to look all the time, controller of all beings, one who has conquered his anger, one who is brilliant, splendor, lustrous, one who is non-envious, and to one where all the gods feared of. When Valmiki asked this question, Narada Muni was quiet, stunned, and in completely silent mood, because he was deeply thinking about Lord Rama, and he didn't have a word where to start with. Because it is not just 16 qualities. The Lord has unlimited qualities. Therefore, Narada was not sure where to start. He was completely lost when he thought about these qualities of the Lord. He didn't have word to start. Likewise, Arjuna was going through the similar experience, not knowing where to start. But somehow or the other, he gathered some strength and started speaking. Paśyāmi devaṁ tava deva dehe. The very first thing it says is that he saw in that universal form many devatas. And then the name that he mentioned, the very first one, was Brahma. So let it be clear that Brahma is different from Brahmam. Brahmam means the absolute truth. Only one absolute truth. Whereas Brahma is a person, is another living entity, not the Supreme Lord. So here Arjuna could see Brahma along with other living entities. And after mentioning Brahma, then he says Lord Śiva, kamalāsana-stham. Shiva, who was situated submissively next to Lord Brahma, who was seated on the lotus flower. From this, it is clear the positions of various devatas. They are all part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. They are not equal to the Supreme Lord. They all come from the Supreme Lord. As it is stated in the Upanishad, Narayanat Brahma jayate, Narayanat Prajapati prajayate, Narayanat Indro jayate, Narayanat Asto Vasavo jayante, Narayanat Ekadaso Rudra jayante, Narayanat Dvadaso Adityaha. Meaning, from Narayana, Brahma was born. From Narayana, Prajapatis were born. From Narayana, Indra was born. Ashta Vasus were born. 11 Rudras were born. 12 Adityas were born. Everyone and everything came from the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Brahma, who is said to be Andadipatim, meaning the ruler of the cosmic shell, the universe, was just in one corner of the Supreme Lord's universal form. It's very insignificant compared to the whole picture. Sarvāṁs, devaṁs. So here, in the first line, as it says, all the devatas, meaning all the devatas, Indras and so forth were all seen. And specifically, the names like Brahman, Śiva were also mentioned, that they were also seen. Bhūta-viśeṣa-saṅghān. In the first line of the sloka, paśyāmi devāṁs tava deva dehe. And in the third line, brahmāṇam īśaṁ kamalāsana-stham. In both first line and the third line, Arjuna mentioned he saw the living entities. In the first line, devatas, all different types of devatas. And in the third line, he specifically mentioned Brahma and Lord Śiva's name. And in the second line, between the first and third line, bhūta-viśeṣa-saṅghān, he also saw other different kinds and types of living entities. Therefore, the term here bhūta-viśeṣa-saṅghān should not be interpreted as panchabhutas, earth, water, fire and ether. That is not what is being mentioned here in this particular sloka. The reason is because the first line and the third line talks about living entity. Therefore, the second line, when it says bhūta-viśeṣa-saṅghān, it should be considered as a living entity as well. Over here, he saw different grades of living entities. That's how this has to be interpreted. And not only that, divyān, uragāṁś. He also saw Vasuki and other heavenly serpents with the jewels in heads shining, divyān, shining jewel on their head. To summarize, the very first sloka, Arjuna said to Krishna that he saw or he could see 330 million, that is 33 crores of gods, hosts of groups of beings, and he could see Brahma, and also he could see Shiva, who abides by the orders and thoughts of Brahma, all the sages, various sages, and the celestial serpents with their jewels shining. All these he saw in just one corner of the Supreme Lord's universal form. And in the next sloka, he continues explaining what he saw. paśyāmi devāṁs tava deva dehe sarvāṁs tathā bhūta-viśeṣa-saṅghān brahmāṇam īśaṁ kamalāsana-stham ṛṣīṁś sarvān uragāṁś divyān. Namaste. Hare Krishna.